Welcome to the Cherry Blossom Studios. I'm David-Dorian Ross. Today is day number 11 of 100 days of Tai Chi, and in today's video lesson, I got two moves for you. Actually, they're two moves that we've already done before. We've actually just come from a whole sequence of movements that started with brush knee and a twist step, followed by play the pipa, followed by 3 brush knee and a twisted step. Well, today we've got another play the pipa and 1 more brush knee and a twisted step. So that's coming up in a second. Plus, I've got a viewer question of the day that in yesterday's episode got eaten by the computer. I'm really sorry about that. I don't even know where it happened. So I'm going to do it today in class. So stick around because all of that's coming up right after this. We are currently in what's known as the first section of the 103 movement long form. Now, almost every routine of Tai Chi, regardless of the style, can be broken down into different sections. And very often this is the way they're taught in traditional classes. So the different sections generally match the direction of travel. So for example, as I begin my open the door, in this routine, I've got one movement that comes here and one movement that goes there. And then I have a whole series of movements which follow down in a certain direction. And then when I get to the end of that direction and begin my turnaround, that's the end of the first section. So we are still in the middle of that first section of movements, which means I'm progressing, and I'm going to do this mirror image to you. I'm progressing from right to left. Right? I hope that made sense because I'm doing the mirror image here. So from right to left. And when I get down to a certain point on that journey, I will stop and basically turn around and go back for the second section. The first section in the long form is very interesting because it culminates in a movement that could look like the whole form is ending. In fact, the name of that movement is Ru Feng Sbi, which means looks like it's ending, but not quite. Apparently closing, apparently looks like it's finishing. That's the translation of that name. And so you could just practice the first section all by itself. In any case, we're not quite there yet. We're in a series of movements in this first section. And the reason why I bring that up is because the question comes up, why do we do so many brush knees in this section, right? Why are we doing it all so many times? And partly it's because this movement, brushing the knee in a twisted step, brushing the knee in a twisted step, has a lot of moving parts. It's a great movement to develop timing and coordination. So you might consider it to be a kind of a warm-up for the movements that are coming afterwards. Anyway, in this series, we've got one more combination to go through. So watch me one time and then we'll do this together. Now, if you've been watching from the beginning, this may look a little bit differently. Recently, many of the viewers, many of you guys have asked me, have requested that I do this in mirror image, meaning that if you're on the correct foot, you could follow me and just sort of stay on the correct foot, which means I'm actually doing it backwards. So that's what I'm about to do. Please don't get confused. If it messes with your head, leave me a comment there to let me know that that's happened. But I'm going to try to do this in a way that's not too confusing. All right. So we have just completed a brush knee and a twisted step, left foot forward, right hand pushing. Following this movement, we have another Shouhui Pipa, hand strum the lute, followed by another brush knee and a twisted step. All right, let me do that one more time from the back. Actually, if you were following me here, you would wind up, this would be on the other foot, right? This would be how it looks. This is on the correct foot. All right, so there's a couple different ways there. I really hope that doesn't confuse anybody, but if it does, my apologies, and please write it down in the comments so that I know what's working and what's not working. All right, let's break this down. And it is very much the same transitions that we have learned before, so this should be pretty easy. I'm going to start by facing you so that you can see how this works. If we are finishing here with the left foot forward, right hand pushing, here's the footwork. My back foot will come forward a half a step. Now what I mean by a half a step is that in your Tai Chi lunge, in your bow step, you're about double shoulder width. That's approximately the length of this bow step. The empty step shortens that by 50%. So you're literally stepping up halfway to create an empty step. Empty, by the way, for those of you who are just joining us, means that there's zero weight, zero emphasis on this foot here. It's just basically tapping down on the ground very, very softly, right on the ball of the foot. So I'm stepping up halfway to make an empty step. Moreover, in the bow step, in the Tai Chi lunge, you notice that I have distance between my feet, which we call the channel. In the empty step change, I not only come forward halfway, but I also bring it in so that the feet are more in line with each other to create this empty step. So once again, here is the transition. I get most of my weight over the front foot so that I can take the back foot up halfway, step down and shift my weight into the back foot entirely, 100%, so that the front foot is empty, leaving the ball of my foot on the front foot. Leaving the ball of the foot on the front foot on the ground. You know what I meant. All right, so that's the footwork. Here's what the hands do. Right? I am in a position where my right arm is pushing forward. My right hand is extended out here. My left hand is down by the hip, palm down, fingertips pointing forward. As I begin to make, I'm just going to do the left hand first, the lower hand first. As I begin to make my shift forward and step down onto this right foot, my left hand comes forward and the elbow sinks, right? It's going to come forward and the elbow sinks, right? In practical application, it's literally finding its way to the elbow of your attacker, right? And getting right under that elbow with the palm of the hand. The other hand, in this case the right hand, that was already higher, is going to pull down and in. So it's sort of going a slight arc, a slight half moon here, down and in, finishing at a point which is roughly to the inside of the extended arm elbow. Hope all that makes sense. It'd be much better if I could just put your hands there, but can you see the relationship here? The short arm here is by the crook of the elbow. They're not too close together. They are separated here, right? So one hand is going forward, one hand is squeezing inward here, right? There is a sort of a soft slope here in the hand that's pressing in, and a fairly straight alignment between fingertips and forearm. This is what one of the other viewers asked about before, which we call the fair lady hand position. Altogether, it looks like this. I'm finishing up brush knee, empty step change, play pipa, right? From the mirror image, which would be here, it messes with my head. Empty step change. Oh, and by the way, in my haste, I've given you the wrong instruction. My apologies. So empty steps can be of two kinds. There's an empty step with the ball of the foot down, and there's an empty step with the heel down and the toe up. For play the pipa, it's heel down, toe up. That's embarrassing, but I'll get over it. The main point is that there's no weight on this foot. So As I come forward, empty step change, I'm placing the heel down, the toe up. I'll bet a bunch of you caught that, didn't you? Good for you. All right. Next piece. The next piece of this movement is that now that I'm in brush knee, or now that I'm in play the peepaw, I want to do one more brush knee. So here's the footwork. I'm going to come from this empty step position and extend the front foot forward again into a lunge, into the Tai Chi bow step. Now remember, that means that not only do I step out another 50%, but I also step wider to recreate my channel, right? So from play the peepaw here, I step forward into that bow step. And that's the basic footwork. Here's what the hands and arms do. From play the peepaw, the smaller arm here drops and arcs over to the side. The top hand folds right across the chest. Then, as I step out and begin to shift forward, the hand folded across my chest pushes out, skims over the knee, and withdraws to the hip. The hand that was extended out to the side here drops the elbow, folding it in, and then reaches forward, pushing one more time. The upper and the lower, as we talked about yesterday, are connected by the turning of the waist. So the torso is twisting and then twisting again, or winding up and unwinding it, counter-rotating and rotating. You know what I mean? So here, I am going to turn to the right. Step out, fold everything in, turn back to the left, and twist all the way into my twisted step. Okay? Let me put that together. From the end of the previous series of 3 brush knee and twist steps, right? Yes, there would I be. Empty step change, play the peepaw, circle, step, one more brush knee. Got it? And rest. Beautiful. Here's what it would look like in its proper foot forward combination. Let's hope that this doesn't confuse you too much. If you had been starting out with me from the beginning and open the door here, we'd be winding up here at the end of the 3rd brush knee. Right? Now I am not in mirror image. Now I'm in regular image. Empty step change. Shouhui peepaw. Today's viewer question of the day comes from Orna Tallman, who asked, how do I practice Tai Chi and protect my knees? And I thought this was a terrific question because I get asked about this a lot. The first question that I always ask in return is, are you experiencing any pain in doing Tai Chi right now? And the reason why I ask this is because it's very interesting. This subject comes up a lot. I want to protect my knees, be careful how you do Tai Chi so it doesn't hurt your knees, whatever. But you know what? In point of fact, there is not, to my knowledge, any recorded case of knee problems or knee injuries having been caused by Tai Chi practice. Many people complain about pain when they're, not many people, some people that I know of have complained about pain associated with Tai Chi practice, but I always want to know if that started with your Tai Chi or if that actually was something that was already going on. Statistically speaking, most knee discomfort, knee pain, knee chronic complaint comes from arthritis, which is a condition that affects almost 35% of the people in the world anyway. And if you're not careful, you could exacerbate that pain if you're doing your Tai Chi, well, let's say inefficiently. I'm not going to say incorrectly, because I'm going to give you the pointers today about how to prevent that. And so first of all, let me talk about the easy way to protect your knees, and I talk about the easy 1, 2, 3. So the easy 1, 2, 3 starts out with, number 1, be careful about planting one foot and then twisting or putting torsion and tension on the leg, which always goes back to right into the center of the knee joint. And it really happens when one foot is planted, which is why most of the time before we do any pivoting, before we do any turning, I take the weight off of the foot so the foot's not planted, and then this foot can pivot. Now that's the way that the leg, including the knee and the ankle joint, are meant to work, meant to move you through space. Major injuries come when that foot is planted and I'm trying to twist around that foot. So number one, make sure that there's no weight on the foot when you turn. Associated with that is a basic Tai Chi principle, which says that aligning the knee along with the rest of the body is critically important both for efficiency and for safety. So it says that the knee stays right over the foot, and then the knee stays right under the hip. In other words, I'm not letting the knee collapse in or out. So it's here you can see it's not over the foot, right? And also it's not under the hip. So I'm going to keep my hip aligned with my knee and my knee aligned with my foot. In some positions, this is physically impossible. Like I can't put my knee over my foot, but I can activate the muscles of the leg and the joints of the hip and thigh so that it wants to. It's moving gently in that direction. So I'm not letting my knee collapse in. I'm trying to draw it over the foot. Does that make sense? So that's your number one. No weight on the foot when you're turning, and keep yourself in alignment. Number two, and this is a bit of an advanced principle, advanced technique that we'll talk about more, and it's another layer. And that is that rather than using the knee and the leg as the focal point of some of your rotations, you'll use the hip instead. So my knee can stay fairly stable if I'm using the hip as the place where I do my rotation. So the hip is a ball and socket joint, while the knee is just a hinge. The knee can only go really efficiently in one direction, but the hip can go all kinds of places. Just ask Elvis, right? So the hip here can actually take up all of these rotations without any tension on the knee. But as I said, that's a bit of an advanced principle. So we'll cover more of that later, but just keep it in your mind that that's another way of protecting the knee. And here's number three, baby steps. In the beginning, if you're just starting Tai Chi and you're wondering how do I protect my knee, make your steps smaller. Take your turns in pieces. Don't try to push yourself too hard until you feel like you've developed some flexibility and mobility in these different parts of the body. And your body will tell you when it's ready to do bigger movements. So baby steps at first. That's my number three. All right, there you've got it. 2 moves today, along with a great question of the day from one of our viewers. Thank you for that question, Orna. If you've got a question, if you've got a curiosity, if you have a request, please leave it in the comments below. I'm trying to read them every day, responding as much as I can to the questions day by day. Sometimes it takes me a day to catch up, but please don't be impatient with me. Just leave the comments and I'll get to them. And every day I'm picking at least one comment or question to make it for my question of the day. Secondly, as always, if you haven't already subscribed, what the heck are you waiting for? Go ahead and hit the subscribe button, press the little bell next to the subscribe button, which will give you notifications when a new video comes up. And please tell friends, man, share the love, hit that little share button and let somebody else know about this video series. Would you mind? That would be a great favor to me. I really appreciate that. All right, tomorrow is day 12. We're going to do a brand new, we're leaving brush knee behind, finally. Another new movement in this first section of the 103 movement long form. Until then, as I say every day, be well, be wise, and be wonderful. And I'll see you tomorrow.